whether Ishyati, he will come, Iha, here, Darsharha, Krishna, the descendant of Darsharha, Taptaha, who are tormented, Swakritaya, by his own doing, Sucha, with sorrow, Sanjeevanyan, bringing back to life, Nu, perhaps, Na, us, Gatre, with the touch of his limbs, Yatha, as, Indra, Lord Indra, Vanam, a forest, Ambudhay, with clouds. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila, the disciples of Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: will that descendant of Dashraha return here and by the touch of his limbs bring back to life those who are now burning with the grief he himself has caused? Will he save us in that way, just as Lord Indra brings the forest back to life with his water-bearing clouds? Text 46, translation: but why should Krishna come here after winning a kingdom, killing his enemies and marrying the daughters of kings? He is satisfied there, surrounded by all his friends and well-wishers. Text 46. The great soul Krishna is the lord of the goddess of fortune, and he automatically achieves whatever he desires. How can we forest dwellers or any other woman fulfill his purposes when he is already fulfilled within himself? Purport: although the gopis lamented that Krishna was associating with the city women in Mathura, they now realize that as the absolute personality of Godhead, he has no need for any women. He is out of his causeless mercy. It is out of his causeless mercy that he awards his association to his loving devotees. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are a very sweet and a wonderful chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Brahmar Gita, or the Song of the Bee, the discussion between Uddhavji and the gopis of Vrindavan. Krishna is called as Gopijana Vallabha, as we were singing. Very, very appropriate, beautiful name, especially appropriate to this beautiful pastime of the gopis showing their love for Krishna. So as we understand that there are various songs or Gitas in our scriptures. I don't know the exact precise figure, but at some source we got to know that there are close to 39 to 40 various Gitas in our Vedic literatures. Like we have the Bhagavad Gita, the song of God. Similarly, there are various other Gitas. There's Hanuman Gita, where Mother Sita instructed Hanumanji after she came back from Lanka. Like that, there are many Gitas. So these are various songs sung and received by great souls, and through these songs, wonderful knowledge is given to the world. So we have the Bhagavad Gita, the Uddhav Gita, the Brahmar Gita, the Gopi Gita that we have in Srimad Bhagavatam. But what is this particular pastime? What is this particular section of the Gita? It is called the Brahmar Gita, or especially the discussions between the gopis and Uddhav. So if you analyze that Uddhavji was the best devotee, the most closest devotee to Krishna in Dwarka. And gopis, Aradhya Bhagavana Brajeshtanaya Tad Dhama Vrindavana Ramya Kachitupasana Rajavadu. The greatest devotees that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established are the gopis. So here is a discussion between two extremely elevated personalities. Gopis as a group and Uddhav as a personality. Gopis are the most elevated devotees the world will ever see, worshipable, and Uddhav, who is the closest associate of the Lord in Dwarka, very, very close, practically as good as Krishna. That's how close Krishna and Uddhav were. So when two great souls they do discussions, it is not very easy to understand what they are discussing. So we may have two very, very learned mathematicians coming together. Many, many years back, I'm talking about late 80s, I went with Radha Giridhari Prabhu to the IIT campus. 1989, 890. He was preaching in IIT. So as a young devotee, he said, come, I'll take you to IIT. So I went to IIT and he went to one hostel, H5, and I went to H4. He left me alone. I said, go and distribute this spiritual scientists. That time they were written. Go to each room. I said, I don't know anything. What do I speak? And these are all IITians. And I was always in awe and reverence to IITians because I wanted to be an IITian myself. So for me, IITians were like worshipable. Even now, there are many IITians who are worshipable sitting there. I continue to worship the IITians. So I said, what do I talk to them? They are all very, very intelligent people. I said, no, just go and speak about Krishna. I said, fine. I hardly knew anything. I was just 1-year-old devotee. So I went to a room and there was a person who was doing his PhD. So I dared to ask him, on what PhD are you doing? I said, what type of PhD are you doing? What subject? So I said, I am doing on elastic mathematics. So I told him, I know what is elastic. I know what is mathematics, but I don't know what is elastic mathematics. And he was doing his PhD on that. So I said, don't even tell me further what you are doing a PhD on. So there was another person. I went to the room and they both were good friends. They were neighbors. Both were mathematicians. And I said, and he was also doing his PhD. I said, if you don't mind, can I dare to ask, what are you doing your PhD on? Say, I'm doing my PhD on sine theta. I said, what is sine? I said, that is, what is so great about sine? I said, I'm doing a detailed study on what is sine, cos and tan, trigonometry. Of that, I'm doing on sine. I still don't understand what it means. If you understand, please let me know in the future. And they started discussing. I was sitting because, I was just, so they were discussing about advanced mathematic principles. They were speaking about in between sine and cos and tan and elasticity. So I could understand what was sine, what was cos, what was tan. I could understand the word. But I never understood the meaning of what was the context, what was the intent of what they were speaking. Right? So you could understand each and individual words, which you can understand, but not the intent, not the purpose. What we discussed, it was completely beyond me. Similarly, I ended up meeting much years later. I ended up meeting two chemists, chemical engineers. I went to UDCT after many years, and I was preaching in the UDCT, and they were talking some advanced chemical formulas of creating, I don't even remember what, some solvent which is more soluble than water. I don't know what it means. Water is the most soluble, but they were trying to create something much more soluble than water. Anyway, so discussing about some chemicals, I could understand sulfur, I could understand chlorine, I could understand nitrogen, but I didn't understand the intent of what they were talking. You understand what I'm saying? The word is understandable, but not the intent. So as I was just reading this particular verses, I had a similar experience. I said, we can understand what the gopis are talking. It's English language that Prabhupada has wonderfully translated. And we understand the language that where is, what is it? It's talking about, will that Krishna ever return? He's the goddess of fortune. He's like the rain-bearing cloud. We understand what is a cloud. We understand what is rain-bearing. We understand Indra. But at least I couldn't really fathom to understand the intent, the feelings that the gopis have for Krishna. It is something absolutely, beyond me. If you see, it sounds like a mundane language, a mundane feelings. क्या वो हमको भूल गया? We hear it in mundane movies. क्या वो कभी आएगा हमारे पास? Will he ever come to me? हम तो उससे बिछड़ गए हैं. All this, mundane feelings appears to be coming here also. Will he ever come? Will he ever remember me? Right? It's quite not something rare that we hear this, at least in India, in our various things that we saw, unfortunately, in our past. Right? But what's happening? And let us really appreciate what's happening here. That these are two extremely elevated personalities. As I said again, gopis as a group and Uddhav as a person, talking about Krishna. Krishna is the elevated personality, and two elevated devotees talking about that elevated personality. It's an extremely elevated subject matter, and I don't think at least any one of us has any understanding or right to really fathom, to understand what is this. It is only because of Srila Prabhupada's mercy. It is only because of the Guru Parampara, Evam Parampara Praptam, that we have got access to such high, lofty understanding. So I think before we begin, discussing this, let us understand first our great fortune to really to hear these words, the celebrated, worshipable words of the gopis for Krishna. So first is, our heart should be filled with great feeling of being fortunate. Bhagyavan. Kono Bhagyavan Jeev, as we say. Brahmanda Brahmite, Kono Bhagyavan Jeev. So the first feeling we all should have is, here we are discussing the marma or the essence of the Vedic scriptures, which is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said, there's a beautiful song we used to sing. Yugala naam shruti sar hai, Radhe Krishna, Radhe Krishna. So in one line, and the leader of this temple explained to us this one line. I said, this one line is practically summing up all the Shrutis that we need to know. It said, Yugala naam Shruti sar hai. What a line it is. That how many Shrutis are there? How many Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Ityasas, so many things. Endless list. But the Shruti Sar, the Marma, the essence of all of these scriptures is Yugalanam, is the holy name Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we are here discussing the right mood of chanting these holy names, the way the gopis are chanting. So I think we are extremely fortunate. And number two, the feeling should be of complete indebtedness to the Guru Parampara, because of which we have access to this. Otherwise, can any one of us feel qualified to be sitting here and hearing the 10th canto Bhagavad, which is relished by the Brijabasis? Only they can relish this, right? So I think that's like a important feeling we all should have. Indebtedness and great fortune before we really understand this. So in this first verse of the 44th verse, it is explained the gopis are talking. It is the different gopis. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says there are different gopis speaking this. So these three verses are spoken by three different gopis, one replying to the other. The first gopi is saying, will that descendant ever come back? Will he save us in that way, just as Lord Indra brings the forest back to life with his water-bearing clouds? So here the gopis are comparing the material existence to be like a dry, hot place. They are not directly saying, but obviously they are indirectly saying, we're talking about the rain clouds. So this material world is having two very prominent quality. It is dry and hot. Samsara dava nalalida loka, that it is a forest fire. What happens when there is fire? What happens when there is heat? And I don't think we need to, it is a perfect discussion today. After all of us experiencing the beautiful, rain showers for last week, and after getting tormented for months by the excruciating heat in Mumbai, we will be able to much more appreciate this verse. So this world we were analyzing is hot. What is the heat of the material world? What is it all about? What is the heat that we are talking about? The heat of frustration and the heat of lust. Practically, if not 100%, 99% of the population in this creation, the material world, is frustrated, including devotees. That's why I use the word 99. Only the 1% who are the pure devotees of the Lord, who are elevated pure devotees, they are not frustrated because they are relishing Krishna. But even the devotees, the sadhakas, all of us, and what to talk of the materialists, 98% of the population, 1% is devotees. And 98% of people are frustrated because they are constantly hankering for things that they do not have and lamenting for things that they have lost. There is such high level of frustration in people's lives. If you ask, no matter how much they have, the heart always asks for more. When you move in the corporate circle, I was talking to one devotee today morning. We were driving together, Mukund Prabhu. He works in a big corporate, and we are talking about different hierarchies in the corporate. We have the vice president and the executive director after that, and then the managing director. And everybody is hankering to go at the top. That now I am the vice president. When will I and I will do everything which is within my capacity to grow to that level of executive director, ED. They are not satisfied. Vice president is a very well-paying and a satisfying job. But dil mange more. The heart is always wanting for more and more and more. There's always more that we want. This famous example, I heard it when I was the beginning of Krishna Consciousness. A person who was anointed as the richest man in the world, and by the Guinness Book of. I said, what is your feeling right now? Now that you have been anointed, you have been proclaimed to be the richest man in the world. What is the prominent feeling in one word? He said, more. The only prominent feeling is, I want more. Frustration. But you can never get always more, right? So this and that frustration is heat, right? Because you see so much frustration seeing these street rages that you see, the fights on the streets, the fights in the trains, is all born out of frustrated, unfulfilled desires. If somebody is satisfied, even if somebody stamps on your feet, you are not crazy. You say that, chodo yaar, mat karo aisa. But you are frustrated. You are like, as you always say, combustible material. Huh? We have these trucks going like highly combustible material. Huh? So, people are practically like highly combustible material in this material world. One chingari, one flame, and boom, they explode. Because they're highly combustible, highly frustrated beings. Highly flammable. The fire of lust and the fire of dissatisfaction is burning their very existence. Right? That's why this material world is filled with fire. It is a fiery place. And can you imagine everybody emitting their fire? If you imagine one log of wood emitting his fire and you have logs of wood emitting fire, how heaty that place becomes. Especially yagya, when you're sitting to yagya and more wood, and becomes more and more hot. Eyes burn and everything. Can you imagine this whole world is nothing but a place which is burning, every individual emitting his heat, his fire of frustration. And even devotees, many of us, at least we are frustrated beings. We are trying to struggle, we are sleeping, and how we chant sometimes in frustration, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, it's just frustration coming out. That's good, no doubt. But it is all frustration. We are trying to control our senses, we are trying to say no to Maya. So much frustration because we are not able to do it. So this world is full of the heat of material existence and dryness. So what is this dryness that you're talking about? Dryness is no matter how much we have, we are constantly dissatisfied, as we mentioned. We are always dissatisfied. Dissatisfaction is the dryness. We are experiencing always dryness. How much ever we have, dissatisfied. The wood is burning, but it wants more. The desires are there, we are getting to fulfill our desires, but still we want more. If you analyze, medically speaking, many of the diseases are, I won't say most, but many of the diseases are caused because of dehydration. Because people drink less water. There's adequate water that is required, and it is based on 1 liter for every 25 kilos of weight. So if you're 100 kilos, you need 4 liters of water. Do we drink that water? Now, of course, so what I'm trying to explain to is the importance of water in our life. What will happen if there is no water? We all are hearing news that the lakes are having only 30 days of water and all this. It is a dreadful situation if there is no water. If there is no water in the body, the people get dehydrated, the lips crack, the feet crack. It's a very, very painful existence without water. Right? So we must understand the importance of water. And the gopis are saying here that Krishna is like that rain-bearing cloud. He's saying that just like Indra sends the cloud, will Krishna come and through the touch of his limbs? What is this? What are they saying? Here, by the touch of their limbs, bring back to life those who are now burning with the grief of losing him. Of course, here is a different type of lamentation. The lamentation of losing Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also experiencing that intense lamentation in Gambhira. To the extent sometimes he would scratch his head and scratch his existence. Kothai Krishna, where is Krishna, where is Krishna? He would be having that intense separation from Krishna. But there's a different. That's the 1% that we said. 99% the 1%. That's a different category. But all of us are burning in lamentation of something else. So Krishna is like that rain. And what is the quality of this rain? If you just very, very, very briefly analyze it. What is this clouds? When the clouds come, they are filled with water. But when they are completely filled, they start pouring out. It rains. In a normal, I'm not talking about the physical way it rains. I'm not talking about, the exact scientific way that the temperature becomes so and so and it starts raining. No, I'm talking about a simple, common man's understanding that when the clouds get the rain, they have been absorbing the water from the land for 9 months. And the land has become dry. And the clouds absorb the rain and then it gets filled up. And the rain comes. At the right opportune time, it just pours out. That is also like Krishna. Krishna is unlimited and is pouring out His love. Now what is the speciality of rain cloud? Or the rain from the clouds? That it is not directed towards anybody in particular. It is for everybody. Just like the sun, the rain also falls all the places. Krishna's mercy is there to everybody. And similarly, the clouds don't ask anything in return. It don't say, well, I've given you water, now give me something in return. So Krishna's love is also causeless. He just gives and gives. There is nothing that He asks. And it's so wonderful, the quality of clouds, that in giving, it itself gets dissolved. It loses its existence. This is the quality of love. In giving, you just dissolve yourself in giving love. That's what Krishna, He just loves His devotees, loves the existence so much that He gives and just gets dissolved in giving. That is the quality of the rain clouds. So what happens exactly when it rains? I've been observing the effect of rains at the national park. I stay close by for a few months now. National park is the biggest forest in Mumbai. And I used to go for a walk in April and in June. And I would see that the whole place was so many trees there. It's a forest. But it was so dry, so brown. But let us for briefly just appreciate. Let us just appreciate what happens when it rains. Because it is through this appreciation of rains will we be able to appreciate the rain of mercy of Krishna in our life. Because that's the simile, there's a comparison that the gopis are using. So the rain must be a very, very wonderful phenomenon, because gopis are comparing the rain to Krishna. So it has to be a very wonderful phenomenon in the world. So what happens when it rains? The first thing that we see is there is complete freshness. You agree? It's just so fresh. If you go out and even in Mumbai at this time you go out and breathe, it is a fresh feeling. And there's a unique fragrance which is emanated by the earth. A refreshing. Krishna says, I am that fragrance, by the way. When the water touches the earth and that the fragrance, I am that fragrance which beats the best of perfumes, by the way. And try to create that perfume, you can't. The perfume, the bodily fragrance of Krishna, when Mother Bhumi is touched by the rain clouds. So first of all, it is freshness. There's coolness in the environment. Right now we all are cool. We are not in any trouble of heat. There's cleanliness. The whole place becomes very clean, isn't it? Even the dirtiest of dirty places, because there's flowing water, it becomes very clean. And then, if you observe slowly in nature, you see sprouting of life. Beautiful shrubs and beautiful insects, they sprout to life. The frogs start making a sound, which is not the case in the. You can see life happening. The birds, they make beautiful chirping sounds. which is not usually seen in the heat. Because they come and they feel fresh, they feel happy. There's happiness everywhere, in general. In general, if you see, if we're not talking about the torment of our mind, but in general, the environment it's a happy environment, blissful environment. It removes all the dryness and removes all the heat. We may not be able to much appreciate in the cities, but if you go to the villages, especially if you go to our forest, our Vada, we have been there for last 2 weekends. It's just so much life there, so much greenery, so much freshness, and this helps in our Krishna consciousness, because you need to be fresh. Why are we told to take bath 3 times a day? Why? Because water has that refreshing feeling and removes the negativity which is accumulated through fatigueness. Water just removes it, especially cool water. So similarly, in our life, when Krishna enters, and here I am reminded of this episode of when Prakashananda Saraswati met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What was his life before he met Lord Chaitanya? Dry. What is explained? What is it? Not regards to Prakashananda Saraswati, but regards to our Sarvam Bhattacharya. He was like a dry, what cake? Dry oil cake. If you have a cake which is dry, many times people serve cakes and they have not made it so well. It is dry. You chew it, it's like a rubber. But sometimes some cakes, especially Russian cakes, they're very juicy. It just melts. It's juicy, is having rasa. Similarly, the life as explained by Sarvam Bhattacharya, or for that matter Prakashananda Saraswati, was like a dry oil cake. It was just so dry, logician. No life, no happiness. Just sitting, doing nothing, meditating upon nothing, becoming nothing. Right? But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in the life of Prakashananda Saraswati, when he started emitting his Brahman effulgence, everybody was saying, oh, what is this? They were attracted. What were they attracted to? They were attracted to the rain of mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was showering his mercy upon these dry logicians, 60,000 of them. But that's the disciples' number. Prakashananda Saraswati has 60,000 disciples, and they all met at Banaras, and and Prakashananda Saraswati was trying to convince Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that why are you becoming so sentimental and everything? But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just was the beginning of shower, the first shower through his effulgence. And then Prakashananda Saraswati said, please don't sit here, don't sit near the foot wash area. He took his hand and then he experienced the second rain shower of seva. Agyat Sukruti in the form of Vaishnav Seva. In this case, Bhagavad Seva. Getting Bhagwan to come. And then slowly his heart, which was so dry for years, was getting filled with some nectar. There was sprout of life. Just like when it rains, there were small shrubs and small sprouts of life. There were small birds that had to chirp in his heart. And that's what we are all experiencing in our own lives. Isn't it? What was our life? It was like a dry life. It was the heat. We were burning in the heat of material existence. We were just burning in academic studies. We were burning in lust. We are burning in the heat of Bollywood and Hollywood. Right? We are burning in all the fair weather friends, in friendship with such people. That was our life. We are burning with the greed of acquiring more and more money. Right? But the moment the first shower of Krishna's mercy came through his devotees, or through his books, or through his prasad, we experienced a real bliss. There was life sprouting in our heart. There was sound, sweet sounds getting. It was all the time. It was crows croaking in our heart. Cow, cow, cow. All this before we became devotees, and then small worshipable birds. They start making sounds. Sweet birds, different birds, in the form of the holy name, in the form of Bhagavad Katha. That was coming in our hearts, and our life became very, 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 very juicy, rasamai. So that is the effect of the rain of Krishna's mercy. And we all have experienced the rain of Krishna's mercy. But you know something, the biggest challenge? The biggest challenge is to continue to stay in the rain of Krishna's mercy. But many times we like to, when we are small, I remember all of us, when we are small, we like to get wet. We fight to get wet. Let me go out, I want to get wet. Right? But when we apparently grow and we become quote unquote intelligent and mature, we don't like to get wet. Even one drop of rain, I got wet. Just get me. We make a big issue of getting wet. Have you realized it? Many people, oh, I got wet, and they run. They want to just get the car to such a closest point that I should not get even one drop wet. Because I have a very nice sari which will be, spoiled by the waterfalls, or I have a iron shirt which will be spoiled. And in general, we don't like to get soiled or wet, is it not? Yes or no? Right? This is what happens when apparently we think that we become mature devotees. We don't like to remain in the rain of Krishna's mercy. And we take a shelter of the umbrella. That I want the umbrella, I don't want just direct rain. I want to be under the shelter. I don't want to get wet. And what is this so-called shelter? It's not actually shelter. It's a so-called shelter of Krishna's umbrella. When we become mature devotees, apparently, not really, mature devotees, then when we start having this feeling of using people for things and lack of using oneself for people, first symptom that we are under the so-called umbrella and avoiding the rain of Krishna's mercy. Because what is the rain? The rain is, when the rain comes, you want to be servant of the servant. You want to serve the people. But when there's a lack of, or rather, we use people for things, that means we become the center. And lack of using oneself for people. That's one of the very serious symptoms of not being in the rain of Krishna's mercy. We are losing the shower, the bliss of Krishna's mercy. We are becoming dry. Giving up friendly relationship with devotees, especially equals. When we find no time, and more difficult than that, when we find no interest and no attraction to associate with the Lord's devotees. What did Parikshit Maharaj ask when he was departing? One of the things that he asked is friendly relationship with his devotees, with the devotees of the Lord. This is the great Parikshit Maharaj asking for. And here we have, when we don't find the taste, and it's for all of us to ask ourselves whether I have the taste or I'm unfortunately maybe losing the taste, especially the taste of associating with comrades, with equals, with people who are our friends, who are our guides, who are our correctors. This is a symptom that we are trying to avoid Krishna's mercy, because mercy comes through the devotees of the Lord. Too much project over people. This is another very serious. This famous statement of His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. Very, very famous. Two statements that is revolutionary. That we use things and what is it? We use people. No, we are supposed to use things and love people. But when we are in a perverted consciousness, then we will use people and love things. And your richness is shown. This he first spoke at the House of Lords. By Krishna's mercy, I was present. It was such a statement. When he spoke this statement, they were all rich people. Very, very affluent people in the House of Lords. The name itself is House of Lords. It's very elevating. It just elevates your House of Lords. Not consciousness, elevates your ego. I'm sorry. And Maharaj made a statement that if you want to really know how rich you are, then you should see how many things you have that money cannot buy. That makes you rich.
And people were stunned, literally. They have never heard something like this. That you can judge your richness by how many things you have that money cannot buy. Happiness, money cannot buy. Satisfaction, money cannot buy. So this is again a serious concern we should have, to make sure that we were confirming our existence under the rain shower of Krishna's mercy. Lack of adequate hearing, lack of adequate menial service, and my way or the highway attitude. I mean, there are many things, but these are all the symptoms of a person who finds apparent shelter away from Krishna's mercy, in that so-called umbrella of his maturity, his so-called maturity and so-called seniority, and so-called advancement in Krishna consciousness. If such symptoms are existing, I think we must understand that we will, in due course, what will the result of this? When the rain shower of Krishna mercy goes away, and again the summer in our life starts, what happens? We are attacked by dryness, we are attacked by lethargy, we are attacked by loss of taste, and we have a tendency to commit aparadhs. So let us all, from this first verse, let us learn this very important lesson, that let us always remain in the rain of Krishna's mercy, because Krishna is like a touchstone. When the rain of Krishna's mercy comes, the whole existence becomes dynamically, spiritually surcharged. And when we and Krishna's mercy, as I said, the rain is always there. Is not making a difference. But we can opt to be away from the rain by taking the umbrella. The rain is never going to not come, right? Similarly, if we opt through our unfortunate mental gymnastics that we do in spirituality, we play this mental gymnastics. Our mind plays gymnastics, goes here and there, and we get confused about what purpose of life. Then we may be away from the rain of Krishna's mercy. And then we have the 46th verse and the 47th verse, which shows that this one gopi is spoken the 44th verse, and the other gopi has a retaliation to that verse. She is saying, the great soul Krishna is the Lord of the goddess of fortune, and he automatically achieves whatever he desires. How can we forest dwellers of any other woman fulfill his purpose when he is already fulfilled within himself? And then another gopi is saying, indeed, the greatest happiness, But why should Krishna come here after winning a kingdom, killing his enemies and marrying the daughters of kings? He is satisfied there, surrounded by all his friends and well-wishers. So here the second gopi is saying that, but why should Krishna come here? One gopi is saying, will Krishna ever come? So there's a beautiful dialogue happening here. One gopi is saying, will Krishna come? Will he just get us rid of all the heat that we are suffering out of separation from him? But other gopi is not arguing actually. She is replying to her, but it's not actually replying. It is just the feeling of utmost humility. You see, this is a feeling that devotees should have. There are many times, what we see here is that the gopis are exhibiting the highest humility and saying that, why should Krishna come here? Who are we that Krishna should come here? Yes, something much more there. Who is saying this? The gopis of Vrindavan. And it is extremely important for all of us to understand what is Krishna's real position. Many times, because we have access to such high level philosophy, especially access to the dealings of Krishna with the Brijabasis, especially with Srimati Radharani and all this very close dealings, many times we start taking Krishna very casually, very lightly. Who is Krishna? Well, Krishna, he was begging for mercy from Radharani. So this subject matter is a very elevated subject matter. I was thinking that this matter is is so very concentrated. The relations of Krishna with the gopis, and Krishna having a subservient position to the Brijbasis. Krishna carrying the shoes of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna begging for mercy from Srimati Radharani, Krishna, doing what the gopis are telling him to do, becoming order carriers. These are all very wonderful leelas of the Lord, very, very sweet, very concentrated. And I was just thinking that these are like very condensed rabdi, very elevated, very condensed form of, when we cook rabdi, we heat it up and then we honor that rabdi. But can we have rabdi as a full meal? If you just have unlimited rabdi, say, what is your meal today? I will have a whole big bowl full of rabdi. You will be in big trouble. You need to have dal, rice, sabji, roti, salad. You need to have fiber in your diet to remain healthy. And then one bowl full of rabdi is something which adds great taste to the whole meal, no doubt. Similarly, we must understand that this high level discussions of Krishna's apparently subservient dealings with his devotees should be kept only as a small portion of our serving in our Shravanam plate. The majority Shravanam should be the glories of Krishna. How Krishna is Abhigya Swarat. How Krishna is Atma Ramascha Munior, Nirgranthi Api Urukrame. There was a discussion between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Saurabham Bhattacharya. They didn't discuss about any elevated subject. They discussed about Atma Ramascha, how Krishna is Atma Ram. That is self-satisfied. That's exactly what the gopis are mentioning here. The Krishna he doesn't need anybody. Even though it is said, Gopijana Vallabha, somebody Krishna is somebody subservient to the gopis. But the gopis are saying that Krishna doesn't need anybody. This is the right attitude of the devotees of Krishna. We cannot take Krishna lightly. Krishna is and will remain for rest of eternity the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shad Aishwarya Purna Bhagavan. That's why too much consumption of this rabdi and without much balanced diet will cause us loose motions. And what does the loose motions in our dealings mean? Our motions will become loose. Our behavior become loose. We will become sahajyas basically. We'll talk about Krishna very, very cheaply. That Krishna is telling me this, so you do this. People have the audacity, leaders have the audacity to say that, well, Krishna has revealed this to me and you do this. My dear friend, who are you for Krishna to reveal to you? What is your okad? Aapki okad kya hai ki you are talking like this? It is only the cheap understanding of Krishna which has come because of overdosage of very, very concentrated subject matter without the balanced diet of understanding the glories of Krishna. That is why in due course, devotees think that I don't need devotees. Many times we think that Krishna is cheap, then slowly devotees will become cheap, and similarly Guru will become cheap. And it is not something that I am just creating. Unfortunately, we have seen this happening. Devotees going to Vrindavan, and they go with proper understanding. Okay, Krishna is God, Vrindavan is a worshipable place. But unfortunately, Vrindavan is not only filled with pure devotees. There are many sahajyas. There are many people who take Krishna very cheaply, and they hear this cheap philosophy of Krishna, that Krishna is this and Krishna is that, which is very elevated philosophy, is true, but we are not ready for it yet. And slowly, they feel that I don't need Guru, I don't need Prabhupada, I don't need the Vaishnavas, I can do things on my own. It is spiritual suicide. People will commit spiritual suicide. You will be dead spiritually. because of overdosage of rabdi. You can die. You can actually die because of overdosage of seeing Krishna in a very cheap way. So let us all realize a healthy way of thinking is devotees don't need me. I need devotees. The gopis, what are gopis saying here? That Krishna doesn't need us. Who are we, by the way? We are ordinary forest dwellers. He doesn't need us. He has unlimited pleasures out there in Mathura with the other city girls, with the kings, with the kingdoms that he has won. So this is the right, humble attitude of a devotee. He never thinks that anybody needs him, but he thinks that he needs everybody. A healthy devotee thinks that devotees don't need me, but I need devotees. Guru doesn't need me, but I need my guru. The temple doesn't need me, but I desperately need the temple. Service doesn't need me, but I need service. And Krishna doesn't need me, I need Krishna. And what is the outcome of this? If we have this attitude that devotees don't need me, but I need devotees, then even if there is some apparent wrongdoing or some misbehavior with you, with the devotees, or apparently you find not getting Guru's mercy the way you think you should get, or the way you think you deserve to get, but still, because you have the humility of the heart that, well, devotees don't need me, I need devotees. So even if there's a wrongdoing, there's some injustice apparently, still you will stick around. And many times, when I remember many years back, I went to get my college. I wanted to have the form. I passed my 10th or 12th, and I wanted a form of a college, which was very important. It was last 1 hour. And there was a long queue. And the peons were behaving so arrogantly. They were pushing, they're literally pushing. They got bamboos and they're pushing people. And they were rich, aristocratic people, because this college was an aristocratic college. And people in cars and everybody, they had come there and they were standing in line. But the peon was pushing. But because the people standing in the queue, they said, the peon doesn't need me, I need the peon. I need this college. So they were ready to do all the wrongdoings. Is it not? If you go to buy a Vrindavan ticket for Yatra, and you're standing in the queue at 3:30 in the morning, and the policeman says, they hit you on the danda, with a danda and everything. In general course, if some policeman hits you with a danda, you will bash him up. Right? I mean, you should not, but you will be angry with him. But when you realize that, mere ko ek line mein rehna hai, bhai, if I get out this line and this policeman kicks me out, then I don't have a ticket to go to Vrindavan. Right? So you can tolerate all the wrongdoings. Maaf kar do yaar. You become humble. Karta hu. Kahan jao? And you become humble, you become tolerant. Is it not? Right? So please let us have this same understanding that Krishna doesn't need us, my dear friends. Devotees don't need us. This temple doesn't need us. We need to be here for our survival. The seva doesn't need us. It's not that any seva is going to stop because you are not there. You desperately need to do seva, because it is through the seva you can please Srimati Radharani. Otherwise, what is the hope of you pleasing Srimati Radharani and Krishna? You need. The Guru doesn't need you. He has many wonderful disciples. Prabhupada doesn't need you. They are Mother Daddy. You desperately need to be in Prabhupada's movement. And that's why if apparently there is somebody who is mishandling you, it may happen. If you have got hurt, but you will stick on. Nahi yaar, theek hai, it is wrong. I got a danda of some Vaishnav chastising me, or some Vaishnava misunderstanding me, but I will stick on to the line of Krishna consciousness. I stick on to the beads. I will never give up Krishna consciousness. But if you are not in the reign of Krishna's mercy, then little amount of injustice, little amount of wrongdoings, you will say, hell with you. I'll go to some other place. But you will not find Krishna at any other place. You may think you will go, but you will not find Krishna. You can buy the train ticket only in an authorized counter of railways. You can't go to any other counter and buy the railway ticket. Right? You will get Krishna Radharani's mercy only in the institute of Of course, there are other 4 sampradayas, other 4 organizations, but we have got the organization of ISKCON. We need to survive in ISKCON. We need to be faithful to ISKCON in spite, because ISKCON doesn't need us. We need ISKCON. So with this beautiful understanding that the gopis are giving us, and let us really have a humble disposition, and that is what I'll just like to conclude. That's why we need to hear adequately also Lord Krishna's Leelas in Mahabharata. Krishna's Vrindavan Leela is very nice, but you can see the smart work of Krishna. You cannot take Krishna for granted when you see Krishna in action in Mahabharata. What a fantastic chess game he's playing. What moves he's making to make sure the Pandavas are victorious. Amazing. Just fascinating. And when you see Krishna doing that activities, you say, well, Krishna is amazing God. Wah! That wah comes in your life. Maan gaya ustad. Krishna is that. We need to hear more of this. Krishna's smart dealings, intelligent dealings. And then some rasa of Krishna going to Mangad and begging to Radharani's mercy and touching his feet is good. Some rabdi is good. Just one spoonful of rabdi will give nice complete meal. But wholesome meal is glories of Krishna, to understand his Shad Aishwarya Purna, his smartness. So that is, we see in Mahabharata, we see in Ramayana the prowess of Ram. We learn Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the renunciation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We see in the Goswamis' lives, the renunciation of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, the same Goswamis who were gopis. If you go to Radha Kund and you hear the pastime of some gopis and manjaris, oh, you will be bewildered. But the same gopis, when you go to that particular kunja of Raghunath Das Goswami and you hear his renunciation, wah! You enjoy, isn't it? So that is wholesome for us. So let us really appreciate the gopis. Let us understand that these are worshipable. These are the personalities who will bless us. That one fine day we will understand their mood that they have for Krishna. But as of now, we appreciate it. We will relish it to whatever extent we can. But let us all really understand that Krishna is Atmaram. Krishna is Abhigya Swarat. He doesn't need us. We desperately need him. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Is there any questions, any corrections, any additions? Granth Raj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.